A like and a comment go a long way in supporting news stories. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thank you. The fork in my hand felt like it weighed a ton. Her voice cut through the room like it wasn't even mine to be in. My mistake? Well, Mark, probably. She said it soft, almost casual, like she was naming a flavor she didn't care for. No eye contact. No hesitation. Just that little smirk she wore when she thought she sounded wise. Jazz played in the background. Candles danced on the tablecloth. But for me, everything just froze. That was the moment. The exact second I knew I was done pretending we were still something. But that wasn't how it started. My name's Mark. I'm 40. I lay tile. Kitchens, bathrooms, restaurants, you name it. I've worked in clean condos and roach-ridden basements, elbows deep in grout. I know how to make a crooked wall look straight. My knees pop every morning, and I've got cuts on my hands from years ago I don't even remember getting. But the lines I lay are clean. Always have been. I don't cut corners. I don't rush jobs. You get the level right, the rest follows. That's what I believe in. I met Rachel in college. She was studying architecture. I was doing trade school courses in building systems. We weren't supposed to cross paths, but the cafeteria served the same bad lasagna to all of us. She was the kind of girl who walked like she had a destination even when she didn't. Confident, sharp, voice clear, always correcting something. People, drawings, coffee orders. I noticed her hands first. They'd tremble slightly when she was deep in thought. I used to bring her trays from across the room just to get a closer look. She caught me staring one too many times. Came right up and said, "You want coffee, or you just like watching me drink it?" I said both. She laughed, and 2 days later we were splitting cheap instant coffee on the stairs outside her dorm. That's how it started. We didn't have much then. Rented a tiny place near campus. Mattress on the floor, drafts through the windows, leaky kitchen tap that sang at night. But we had time. And we had plans. I used to lay on my back and stare at the cracked ceiling while she drew blueprints by hand, her pencil scratching out dreams we couldn't afford yet. She'd ask me things like, "What kind of windows would you want in our future place?" And I'd shrug. "Ones that don't whistle when it's windy." We laughed a lot back then. When I wasn't in class, I worked on job sites. Entry-level stuff. Carrying cement bags, cleaning up after plumbers, whatever they needed. Got calluses real fast. Bought tools piece by piece, used ones off classifieds. My first trowel had someone else's name scratched into the handle. Didn't matter. I learned the feel of good mortar, how to float a wall, how to correct a slope without anyone noticing. Every week, I brought home new blisters and a few bucks more than the last. Rachel said it was admirable. Said she liked my hands. Said I made her feel safe. When she got her first internship at a design firm, we celebrated with canned beer and instant noodles. I remember the way her eyes lit up when she talked about open spaces and sustainable materials. She was so damn sure she'd make something that mattered. And I believed her. I still do, in some strange way. But when she came back from that internship in Berlin, something had shifted. She didn't walk into our apartment. She arrived. Like the room was supposed to adjust to her presence. She had new clothes, a softer tone to her voice, and this way of looking at everything like it wasn't quite enough. Including me. We went out to dinner to celebrate. Someplace she picked, modern and loud. I ordered steak. She ordered octopus with something I can't pronounce. She looked at my plate and said, "Still the same, huh? What's that supposed to mean? You always go for the simplest thing." I chose you, didn't I? She didn't even look up. Just said, "That was a long time ago," and went back to her wine. That stuck with me. Like a nail in the sole of your boot you don't notice until it digs deep. I tried to brush it off. Maybe jet lag, maybe just nerves. But that wasn't a one-off. It became a rhythm. She started seeing me as something to correct. Like a flawed sketch she couldn't unsee. I'd come by her office in my dusty work boots, dropping off lunch, or just saying hi. Her eyes would flick down to my shirt like I was embarrassing her. "Might have changed before coming here," she'd mumble. I came straight from a site. "You want clean, or you want fed?" She wouldn't answer. Just that long sigh she'd perfected. At home, she'd nitpick the way I stacked the dishes, the volume on the TV, the way I talked about work. I once told her about a client screwing up tile measurements, and how I had to improvise. "Well," she said, "that's why people hire architects who actually plan ahead." Jesus, Rachel, can't you just say rough day like a normal person? You're sensitive. No, I'm just tired of getting lectured in my own house. You act like a student sometimes. Maybe that's why. I should have walked then. Should have packed my tools and left her to her espresso machine and throw pillows. But I didn't. You ever stay longer than you should, just because you think maybe it'll turn around? That was me. I was betting on a version of her that didn't exist anymore. I didn't sit there quietly though. When she skipped my brother's barbecue because it's always so dirty, I snapped. "Yeah, it's not a spa, it's a backyard. With family. But if you'd rather drink cucumber water with your life coach, be my guest." She went to a spa weekend. Came back sun-kissed and smug. You're always sulking, she said. You have no lightness. I got concrete and bills and a sore back. You want circus tricks, marry a clown. That earned me 3 days of cold silence. She used to fill rooms with laughter. Now it was just the hum of the fridge and her fingers typing. Sex went first, then conversations. Then even arguments lost their fire. She'd just roll her eyes when I talked. At a dinner with friends once, she joked, I envy people whose husbands are software engineers. Mine smells like grout and drill bits. I didn't laugh. I told her straight. If I'm a punchline, we need to talk. Seriously. God, Mark. It's just a joke. Don't be so literal. I kept trying. Made dinner, did laundry, covered half her yoga retreat. She wanted money for a seminar on creative spaces. I wired it that day. Then one evening, I saw a text to her friend. Mark's stable, but it feels like I married someone with no ambition. I waited till she got home, sat at the kitchen table, asked her directly, you really think I'm not enough? She didn't even flinch, just scrolled through her phone and said, I just wish you were more. Someone to be proud of. I get up at 6 every day. I built this house with these hands. You eat because I bleed my knuckles on job sites. If that's not enough to be proud of, you're living with the wrong man. She said, maybe I am. I didn't blow up. Didn't break anything. I went out to the balcony and just stood there. Cold railing under my palms, city buzzing below. And all I could think was, more of what? More stylish? More philosophical? More useless? That night, I slept on the couch. Not because she told me to. Because I couldn't look at her without feeling like a ghost in my own home. I left before sunrise. Didn't kiss her goodbye. Didn't want to smell her perfume. She said sorry that night. First time in months. Said she didn't mean it. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But a couple days later came her dad's birthday. And you know the rest. I walked the whole way home that night. Didn't even think about grabbing the truck. Left it parked a block away from her parents' house. That walk. It cleared things up more than any argument ever could. Streetlights buzzing. Sidewalk cracks under my boots. That weird summer night air. Heavy, like it's holding back rain, but never really letting go. I didn't cry. Didn't talk. Just walked with my fists in my pockets and that one sentence echoing in my skull. Mark, probably. Like I was a phase. Like I was a passing cold. A typo in her otherwise perfect script. Man, that stuck to my ribs like cement dust. I got home and didn't even bother turning the lights on. Just kicked my boots off, sat at the kitchen table, stared at the wall. The clock on the microwave blinked 12:04. The silence was thick. I wasn't even mad at her anymore. That's the thing. I was just done. You ever feel that? That click in your chest? Not an explosion, not a breakdown, just a quiet no more. That's what it felt like. And then something strange happened. I started thinking about work. About the tile job I'd done that morning in a bungalow over in Medford. How I'd finally matched that tricky diagonal cut in the corner near the doorframe. Took me 40 minutes to get it flush. Client probably wouldn't even notice, but I did. I cared. I always cared. Even when no one watched. That thought made me smile. First time in days. Next morning I got up at 6 like always. Had my coffee. Didn't touch my phone. Packed a few essentials. Work clothes, chargers, that one flannel I liked. Took my tools. Left everything else. Didn't even write a note. Just grabbed the truck keys and drove out to my brother's cabin out near Somerville. Didn't even call ahead. He saw me pull up, came out in sweats and said, bad night. I said, mind if I stay for a bit? He stepped aside. Spare room's yours. Fridge is stocked. Shower still leaks. Didn't ask questions. That's why I like him. Those first couple days out there felt like breathing again. I tiled a wall in his mudroom just to stay busy. Fixed that leaky shower head. Chopped some firewood though it was July. He didn't say much. Just sat on the porch some evenings, passing me a beer. We watched mosquitoes dance in the air, talked about nothing important. It was good. Rachel started calling the second night. I saw the screen light up, but didn't touch it. First it was, can we talk? Then, are you really not coming back? Then she switched to text. Said I was overreacting. Said it was just a joke. Said I was acting like a child. I let it sit for 2 days. Then I sent one word. Yes. That was it. Line drawn. The next message came quick. So what? You want a divorce? I waited a while. Thought about it. Not out of hesitation, just out of making sure. I read that message like 10 times. Looked at the word divorce like it was a piece of equipment I hadn't used before. And then I replied, I want out. Whatever that means to you. Next few days, silence. Then, come sign the papers when you're ready. I came back a week later. She was home. House looked spotless. My things had been neatly piled in the entryway. Work boots, tools, old shirts folded. On the table, a folder. Papers inside. Names, numbers, signatures. She didn't say much. Tried to talk, I could tell. Her mouth opened a few times, like she was testing the words. I didn't help. I flipped through the folder, read each page, signed where needed. Not a single question. She said, "Mark, are you sure it has to be like this?" I looked her in the eye, steady. "You wanted someone to be proud of? Well, be proud. I get up early. I break my back. I build things. I keep my word. I don't walk out. But I'm not your project, Rachel. You want clay? Go sculpt someone else." I saw it in her face. Not anger. Not sadness. Just that stunned look people get when something solid finally walks away. I left without slamming the door. Just closed it. Picked up my gear. And that was that. I moved into a small place a few blocks from my old workshop. 1 bedroom. Nothing fancy, but I made it mine. Retiled the kitchen. Built the cabinets by hand. Sanded the floors till they glowed like honey. Every edge flush. Every line clean. I worked during the day. Came home tired but clear-headed. The place didn't have much furniture, but it didn't need it. No throw pillows judging me. No sighs from the other room. Funny how quiet can feel like a reward. You know the best part? Nobody corrected me. Nobody rolled their eyes. Nobody told me I should be more. I made dinner the way I liked it. Ate at the counter with a beer. Watched TV without lowering the volume. And little by little, I stopped thinking about her. It's weird, the things that come back first. Not the kisses or the laughs. No, it's the way she used to tighten her jaw when I said something she didn't agree with. Or how she used to say MMM instead of I'm listening, even when she clearly wasn't. I started realizing how often I'd talk myself into believing we were okay. How many little cracks I'd patched over like they'd hold. They don't. Not in tile. Not in people. A couple weeks after everything was finalized, I ran into her friend Carla at the grocery store. She saw me in the produce aisle, stopped dead, looked at me like I was a ghost. "Mark, wow. You look." I raised an eyebrow. "Like a guy buying cucumbers?" She smiled, a little awkward. "Rachel says you've been distant. She says a lot of things. She's having a rough time." I shrugged. Rough comes with a cost. We all pay it. She looked like she wanted to say more, but didn't. Just nodded and moved on. You ever notice how people always come out of the woodwork once you're gone? Like absence turns you into some myth? A few old friends reached out, saying they'd heard what happened. One guy even said, "Man, I always thought she was too much for you." I didn't know whether to laugh or hit him. But truth is, I don't blame her. Not really. We weren't meant to last. We were built for the dream, not the day-to-day. She wanted ambition in a tailored suit. I wore overalls and made things straight. That's who I am. I fix crooked stuff. But you can't fix people who don't want to see value in what you do. One night, about 2 months later, she showed up at my door. I was in sweatpants, barefoot, finishing a late sandwich. She knocked like she hadn't burned the bridge down herself. I opened the door. She looked tired. Hair done, makeup light, but the eyes? Eyes were hollow. "Hey," she said, voice soft. I leaned on the doorframe. "Rachel, can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. 10 minutes. She sat on the edge of my chair like she didn't know how to relax anymore. Looked around the room. The neat kitchen, the clean lines, the handmade coffee table. "You did all this?" "Who else? It's beautiful, clean, peaceful." "Yep." She looked at her hands. Then at me. "I've been thinking a lot. About how things ended. About what I said. That night." I didn't answer. "I didn't mean it like that. You weren't a mistake, Mark. I was just trying to sound clever, wise, above it all." She winced. "Maybe." I let the silence stretch. "I miss the way you used to look at me," she said. "I miss the way you used to look at me too. Before I became your phase. I didn't know what I had. You knew. You just didn't want it." She blinked fast. "Do you think we could ever talk again? Try again?" I shook my head slowly. Not angry. Just calm. I laid every tile in this place myself. Made every corner tight. You think I'm gonna walk back into something that cracked down the middle just because you missed the color? She bit her lip. Eyes glossy. But I didn't flinch. "Take care of yourself, Rachel," I said, holding the door open. She stood up, nodded, walked out without another word. And that's how it should be. After she walked out that night, I stood by the window for a while, holding a warm beer and watching her tail lights fade down the street. No drama. No last look over the shoulder. Just silence. And honestly, it felt right. Like that last brick you set into a pattern, click, and the wall is finally done. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel broken either. I just felt solid. Like I'd finally stopped fighting gravity. That next week, I worked a job over in Brighton. Nice couple, young, had just bought a fixer-upper. They wanted subway tile backsplash in the kitchen and some fancy hex floor in the bathroom. The kind of job that takes time, because the walls aren't straight and the budget's just tight enough to be annoying. But they were polite. The guy kept asking questions like he actually wanted to learn something. "You always measure twice?" he asked me once. I said, 3 times if I'm tired. 2 if I'm lucky. 1 if I want to come back tomorrow and fix it. He laughed. "You ever mess it up?" "Everyone messes up." Real pros know how to hide it. That made him think. I like that. Working with my hands cleared my head more than any talk ever could. Every tile I set was a choice. A small, stupid, quiet choice that stayed put. No debates. No sighs. Just glue. Pressure wipe. I came home tired, but I slept better than I had in years. No cold shoulder in bed. No snide remarks. Just me and my pillow. You know what else I started noticing? The little freedoms. Like how I could leave my boots by the door without getting a passive-aggressive comment. Or how I didn't have to answer to anyone about why I bought a six-pack on a Thursday. Or how the volume on the TV could stay exactly where I left it. It's funny. You get so used to walking on eggshells, you forget what it's like to just walk. A few days into this new rhythm, I got a call from a number I didn't expect. It was her dad. "Mark," he said, voice low and familiar. "I know I might be overstepping here, but you think you'd meet me for a drink? Just to talk?" I paused, not out of hesitation, just surprise. Then said, "Yeah, sure." We met at this old bar near the train station. He was already there when I walked in. Same checked shirt, same calm face. He stood up, shook my hand like always. "Appreciate you coming," he said. We ordered a couple beers. No small talk. Just sat there for a minute. "Finally," he said, "I'm not calling to convince you to come back. I'm not in the business of patching things that are cracked through. I just wanted to look you in the eye and say, you didn't do anything wrong." That caught me off guard more than anything Rachel ever said. He went on, "She's my daughter. I love her. But that doesn't mean I don't see what's happening. I know what kind of man you are, Mark. I've seen it from the beginning." I looked down at my beer, rolled the bottle between my palms. "I tried," I said quietly. "You know? I really did. Gave it time. Gave it space. Gave it money. Gave her the damn best version of me I knew how to be." He nodded slowly. "I know. I kept thinking if I just held on long enough, she'd meet me halfway. But she kept walking the other way. And eventually, you just stopped following." He exhaled through his nose. "She's been chasing some idea of life that doesn't exist." I told her once. "Don't forget who stood beside you when you had nothing." She didn't answer. We sat quiet for a moment. He lifted his glass slightly. "I just wanted you to know, if it ends, it's not on you. You're still family to me. You'll always be." I felt my throat tighten, just a bit. He added, "You ever feel like grabbing a beer, come by the house. Even if she's not there. Hell, especially if she's not there." I smiled for the first time that day. We clinked bottles. "Thanks," I said. "That means more than you know." He reached across the table, gave my shoulder a squeeze. "You're still a good man, Mark. Don't let anyone talk you out of that. Not even her." We finished our beers in silence. Two men who'd seen enough of life to know when words were done working. Back home, I laid in bed and stared at the ceiling. The same way I used to when me and Rachel shared a mattress on the floor. Only now, the silence didn't press in. It just was. About a month later, I got a call from a contractor I'd worked with years ago, Jeff. He had a big project coming up. Mid-century remodel, real high-end clients. Said he needed someone reliable for the tile work. Asked if I was in. I was. It felt good to be wanted for what I do, not who I could become. The job was about 40 minutes outside the city. Huge house on a hill. Clean angles, big glass windows, polished concrete everywhere. They gave me free rein on the tile patterns, trusted my eye. That's rare. I spent weeks on that house. Laid herringbone in the master shower, marble hex in the guest bath, matte slate in the entry. Every cut measured twice. Every finish smooth. The clients were happy. Gave me a bonus. Jeff even said, "You're still the only guy I'd trust with natural stone." I drove home that day covered in dust and grout, but proud. Sat on my balcony that night, the tiny one off my apartment, drank cold beer and looked at my hands. Still rough. Still cracked. But they built things people admired. That mattered more than any title or paycheck ever did. One Sunday, I went back to my old neighborhood. Just passing through. Saw the house Rachel and I used to live in. Someone else had moved in. They painted the shutters green. Looked terrible, but that was their mistake to make now. The tree out front was taller. The mailbox was new, but the bones were the same. I didn't feel anything. Just kept driving. It's strange. You think you'll always carry the ache, the what if. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes it dissolves so slowly you don't even notice it leaving. I started dating again. Nothing serious at first. Grabbed drinks with a woman I met at the hardware store. She sold lighting fixtures. Knew more about lumen output than anyone should. Talked too fast, laughed a lot. Didn't flinch when I said I worked with tile. Said, "That's a damn useful job. I can't even hang a picture frame straight." That caught me off guard. In a good way. We didn't last. Different schedules, different pace. But it was honest. Clean. Nobody trying to shape the other. Just two people checking if they fit. We didn't. That's okay. I realized I didn't need someone to complete me. Just someone who didn't make me feel like I needed to be redesigned. That's what Rachel never got. She thought life was a blueprint: draft, revise, optimize. But I'm not a damn sketch. I'm bricks and sweat and stubbornness. I'm that guy who shows up even when it rains. The one who doesn't flake. The one who makes sure it's square even if nobody's gonna see it. And I'm not ashamed of that anymore. After she left the bar, I sat there for another 20 minutes. Finished my beer. Let the silence settle. Bartender gave me a look like he wanted to ask something, but didn't. He's seen enough of life from behind that counter to know when not to poke. I walked home slow again. That steady, heavy pace when you're not in a rush and not escaping either. Just letting your boots hit pavement the way they want. It was cold. Jacket zipped, hands in pockets. Head clear. The apartment smelled like pine cleaner and fried onions. I'd cooked the night before and forgot to take the trash out. I didn't mind. That was my life now. A little mess, a lot of quiet, and no one trying to reshape me into their version of success. I took a shower. Water pressure still sucked, but it was warm. I looked at myself in the fogged mirror and saw a man I recognized again. Tired eyes, strong jaw, a few more lines. But grounded. Present. Not waiting for applause. Not trying to prove anything. You know what's funny? I hadn't changed. Not really. I still laid tile. Still got up at 6. Still double-checked measurements and wiped the excess grout. The only thing different was, I stopped apologizing for it. That's all. A couple months passed after that. Work stayed steady. I got referred to a few new contractors who appreciated my ethic. Started picking up jobs through word of mouth. That guy with the arms like bricks and the cleanest corners in town. That's what one client said. I'll take it. One woman, single mom, 2 kids, tight budget, asked me to fix a mess another guy had left behind. He'd rushed through her bathroom, left half the tiles loose, didn't even seal the edges. I ripped it all out and started from scratch. Charged her just enough to cover my hours, nothing more. She cried when I finished. Said, nobody ever just does the job right anymore. I just nodded and said, some of us still do. I didn't need a thank you, but it stuck with me. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment and sketched a layout for a kitchen I'd probably never own. Just for fun. No fancy software. Just pencil and graph paper. I hadn't done that since Rachel and I were living in that first apartment. Mattress on the floor, coffee on the stairs. I thought about her then. Just for a second. Not out of longing, just curiosity. I wondered what she was doing, what kind of project she was designing now. I hoped she'd stop trying to impress people who didn't give a damn. I doubted it. But I hoped. You ever look at your life and realize it's smaller than you planned, but somehow bigger inside? That's where I was. My place wasn't much, but it was mine. The tools by the door were mine. The mismatched mugs. The scuffed counter. The sound of the radiator clicking at night. All mine. One afternoon, I was cleaning out my old toolbox. Sharpie labels faded. Bits of dried grout in the corners. At the bottom, I found a photo. One of the few we'd ever taken together. Me and Rachel, back in the college days. She was laughing. I was holding a coffee mug with "World's Okayest Boyfriend" printed on it. I remembered that day. She'd bought the mug as a joke. Said it was our brand. I looked at it for a minute. Then I folded it once and tossed it in the trash. Not out of bitterness. Just out of closure. Another time, I was at a diner early morning. Black coffee, 2 eggs, rye toast. My kind of breakfast. A man and woman sat in the booth behind me. Probably late 20s. She was nagging him about his job. About how he always smelled like metal. About how he never made plans for vacations. He kept quiet the whole time. Just nodded and stirred his coffee. When they left, I looked over. His shoulders were hunched. His steps small. And I thought, don't wait too long, man. Don't lose yourself trying to keep peace that never comes. I don't know if he saw it in her eyes the way I did in Rachel's. That quiet disgust, that soft dismissal. But I knew the look. And I knew what came after it. Another weekend, I went out to visit my brother again. He handed me a beer before I even parked. You look less like a tile guy, he said, smirking. Yeah? And more like what? Like a guy who finally started choosing his own furniture. We grilled steaks. Played cards. Didn't talk much about the past. That's the beauty of some brothers. They know what not to ask. But when we were halfway through the bottle, he looked at me and said, you really okay? I took a long drink. Yeah. For the first time in years, I'm not waiting to be someone else. He raised his bottle. Then here's to whoever the hell you are now. I smiled. Later that night, lying in the guest bed, I thought back to when I used to dream of building a life with Rachel. I remembered how I wanted to make her proud. How I wanted her to look at me like I was enough. Now, I didn't need that look anymore. Because I looked at myself and didn't flinch. That was enough. One night, I was back at the bar, watching a late game. Bartender knew me by name now. Poured my usual before I sat down. Place wasn't crowded. Just a few regulars. I heard someone sit 2 stools down. I didn't look right away. But then I heard the voice. Didn't expect to see you here. It was Rachel. She looked different. Not worse. Just smaller. like someone who'd been carrying too much and finally ran out of room. She wasn't wearing designer or anything, just jeans and a jacket. No makeup. I nodded. Rachel, mind if I sit? It's a free country. She moved closer. Not too close. Just enough. I've heard things. From friends. About you. The jobs you're doing. I shrugged. I work. Always have. She nodded. Looked at the TV, then back at me. I used to think I was better than all this. Bars. Simplicity. You. That stung, but I kept my face flat. I know, I said. She sighed. Turns out, the people I tried to impress don't really care who I married. Or divorced. Yeah, that sounds about right. She looked down at her glass. Swirled the drink. You ever think about us? Sometimes. Like you think about a place you used to rent. Not fondly, not bitterly. Just it was there. Now it's not. She nodded slowly. I miss the way you made things feel solid. I took a sip. I miss the way you used to believe in them. We didn't say much after that. Just sat. She didn't ask to come back. I didn't offer. It wasn't one of those scenes. It was just two people who shared something once, realizing it couldn't be rebuilt. Eventually she stood up. Well, I should go. Take care, Rachel. You too. She left. I watched her go, and that was it. No ache. No wait. Just peace. One afternoon, I got a message from an unknown number. Hey, just wanted you to know. I saw one of your jobs in a magazine feature. Your work's amazing. You always had that precision. It was Rachel. I stared at the message longer than I expected. My thumb hovered over the screen. That last line, you always had that precision, stuck for some reason. Maybe because it was the first time she'd ever admitted it out loud. Not to her friends. Not behind my back. But to me. I typed back. Thanks. Hope you're well. She replied, I'm trying. I didn't write again. Didn't block her. Didn't overthink it. Some things don't need a reply. Some chapters end not with a bang, but a page turned. These days, my life is quiet. Not lonely. Just quiet. I wake up early. Brew my own coffee. Watch the light change on the wall as the sun rises. I take jobs I care about. I walk into homes that need fixing. I fix them. And then I leave. No applause. No validation. Just lines laid clean. Some evenings I walk past couples on the street. Arms linked. Laughing. Bickering. I don't envy them. I don't pity them either. People learn in their own time. But I do want to grab some of those guys and say, if you ever feel like your worth is being measured in ambition or paychecks or words you don't even use, stop. Just stop. You don't owe anyone reinvention. Just be solid. Be present. Be clean. But I don't say it. I just walk. Hands in pockets. Head clear. My story isn't a warning. It's not a tragedy. It's not even a comeback. It's just a man who stopped waiting to be somebody else and finally remembered how to be himself. And hey, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Honestly, I gotta ask though, did I do the right thing walking away when I did? Would you have handled it different? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious what you think. Maybe I missed something,